Margaret Ellis booked her flight to Vietnam alone, the morning after the anniversary of her husband's death. She did not tell anyone. Not her daughter Susan, not her son Tom. She did not call a travel agent. She opened the airline app on her phone, the way her granddaughter had taught her a few weeks before, and booked it herself. HOIN, Vietnam. 6 nights. When she pressed confirm, she had the feeling she might not come back. Though the return ticket was already there on the screen. Why Vietnam takes some explaining. She was 29 years old. Her son was 2, her daughter had just been born. She was running on no sleep, caring for a sick mother-in-law, managing diapers and grocery runs and her husband's long work hours. A neighbor had left a stack of old magazines by the curb, and Margaret had taken one inside on a whim. There was a photograph in it. A narrow alley strung from end to end with glowing lanterns, yellow and amber and orange, hanging so thick they turned the whole sky of the alley golden. She did not know at the time that it was HOIN. She did not know the country well. She only knew that something about that photograph held still inside her, in a way most things did not. She cut it out and taped it to the back cover of the journal she had kept since her wedding year. When the kids are older, she told herself. When Frank's business settles down. When there is a little room to breathe. Frank died first. The journal was still in her bedside drawer. The photograph was still taped inside the back cover. A little faded, but there. Susan found out a week before departure. You booked it alone? Why didn't you say anything? Is that safe? You don't speak the language. You've never traveled internationally by yourself. Margaret said, slowly and clearly, I'm 73 years old, Susan. I go when I want to go. Susan was quiet for a moment. Then she said, then I'm coming with you. Margaret said, I need to go alone. She could not have explained why it had to be alone. She simply knew. This was a trip that had to be taken without company. On the plane out of Atlanta, the wheels left the ground and Margaret looked out the window. The city fell away beneath her. The suburbs, the highway interchange, the brown winter fields. And then the cloud layer closed over all of it. And she felt something she had not expected. Nobody knew exactly where she was. Nobody was waiting for her to do anything. That realization did not frighten her. It made her feel lighter. Like something she had been carrying for a very long time had been set down, just for now. She landed in Da Nang in heat she had not prepared herself for. The air smelled of something sweet she could not name. The taxi driver spoke almost no English and she spoke no Vietnamese. So he pulled out his phone and used a translation app, holding the screen toward her. First time? It said. She nodded. He gave her a thumbs up and grinned. She liked that grin. The hotel was small and clean. She unpacked slowly and lay down on the bed and looked at the white ceiling. Through the window she could see a palm tree moving in the breeze. She took out the journal. She opened to the back cover. The photograph was there. The lantern alley, golden and full. She looked at it for a long moment. She thought one thing. I'm here. 2 words. They sat in her chest for a long time. Have you ever had that moment? When something you carried quietly for years finally comes into reach. The next morning she took a bus to the old town of HOI. And on her own, phone map open, following the blue dot. The alley appeared around a corner. Yellow buildings on both sides, narrow and old. And above, strung between the rooflines, the lanterns. Unlit in the midday, but there. She stopped at the entrance to the alley. 40 years stood in front of that alley with her. The 29-year-old woman. Who had cut that picture out from a neighbor's discarded magazine. Whose hands smelled of dish soap. Who had been too tired to dream clearly, but had taped the photo in her journal anyway. That woman was here with her now. Margaret stood very still for a while. She thought she might cry. She did not yet. There was something larger than tears happening. Something without a clean name. The nearest word she had for it was arrived. Late but arrived. She walked slowly into the alley. There were tourists and open shop fronts and fabric panels. Drifting in the breeze and a small cafe with 2 chairs on the sidewalk. She sat in one of them. She ordered a coconut drink. She took a sip. Cold and sweet. At the next table sat an elderly Vietnamese woman, alone, who looked to be well into her 80s. She had her own drink. Their eyes met. They both smiled. No words necessary. That evening Margaret wrote in her journal for the first time in years. I came to the lantern alley today. I came to the place in the photograph. It took 40 years. I am late, but it does not feel late. I think it looks the way it does because I am the age I am. I do not think it would have looked this way at 29. When evening came, the lanterns were lit. The whole alley turned gold. Margaret stood underneath them and took a photograph. Then she took out her journal and held the 40-year-old clipping beside the glowing alley she was standing in. They matched. She cried then, quietly, without drawing attention. The people walking past would not have noticed. Just an older woman standing still in a lantern alley. On the third day she joined a small cooking class her hotel had recommended. 6 people, a local instructor in her 30s, a market run for ingredients. An afternoon of cooking together. The other students were a retired couple from Ohio. 2 young German women, and Margaret. The class was taught in English. Margaret followed along more with her hands than with her ears. The instructor showed her how to make pho broth. They made bon exio, a Vietnamese crepe. The man from Ohio could not flip his without tearing it and made everyone laugh. Margaret laughed too. She thought, I have not laughed like this in a while. With strangers who speak differently and have completely separate lives. The instructor asked her, in English, traveling alone? Margaret said, yes. The instructor gave a thumbs up. And said something in Vietnamese that one of the German women translated. She says a grandmother who travels alone is the most wonderful thing in the world. Margaret did not reply. She just smiled. But that night she wrote the sentence in her journal. She underlined it twice. On the 4th day she rented a bicycle and rode along the rice paddy paths outside town. She had not ridden a bicycle in over 50 years. She wobbled badly at first. She got off and stood for a moment with her hands on the handlebars. Then she got back on. The paddies were wide and still. The rice was green. Ducks walked along the edges of the water. She pedaled and thought about how she had not breathed air like this in a long time, how she had not ridden down a road with nothing on either side for longer than she could remember. At the end of the path she stopped. She turned around and looked back at where she had come from. A long flat road through green fields. She thought about her life the same way. Long and flat, mostly. No dramatic turns. Just waking up and cooking and cleaning and raising children and nursing Frank through his illness and outliving him. Walking the flat road. It had not been a bad life. That thought came to her clearly for the first time. Not as reassurance. Just as a fact, arriving on its own. On the last evening she sat by the Tu Bon River. Little boats floated past carrying lit lanterns. Tourists were releasing paper lanterns onto the water, small floating lights with wishes written inside. She bought one. She sat for a while deciding what to write. Frank came to mind first. She thought about how they had always said they would travel when the time was right. And the time had not cooperated. She was not angry about it. She felt, instead, a quiet warmth. I came anyway, she thought. I came for both of us. She wrote in the lantern. Late, but here. She set it on the water. The flame held. It drifted out and joined the others, a small light moving among small lights. All of them rocking gently on the dark river. 40 years of a clipped photograph. And this river, and those lights, all at once. She did not move for a long time. The morning of departure she went through the room once before leaving. 6 nights in a small clean room. The palm tree was moving outside the window. The same as the first morning, but it looked different. At the airport she texted Susan. Getting on the plane now. Trip was wonderful. Susan replied a few minutes later. Mom, how was it really? Margaret wrote back, it was everything. I'm going somewhere alone again next year. Susan sent a laughing emoji and then, take me next time. Margaret smiled at the screen. She wrote back, deal. Next one together. The plane rose and Da Nang fell away below. She could see the river. The same river where the lanterns had gone. Just before the clouds closed over it. The light on the water caught for a moment and flashed. She held that flash in her mind and closed her eyes. We always put ourselves last. When the children are grown. When work quiets down. When there is a little more money, a little more time. But that turn in line often does not come. And we wait for it until we can no longer go. Margaret Ellis made her own turn at 73. Late, she wrote. But here. Those 4 words are what this story is about. New stories every week on this channel. Please subscribe so you never miss the next one.